DPS and stability and support. Essentially, what it does is it gives boons and it tears ass when it comes to DPS. It is a DPS hog. It's not like outer over there, but it does have a lot of DPS when it comes to AoEs and projectiles. It uses a hammer as its main weapon and sword as a close combat weapon. It is full berserker with scholar runes and marauder weapons. I use Superior Sigil of Force and Bloodlust as in my hammer, so I gain Bloodlust stacks. I also have the same thing, Force, and sometimes I put Impact in my other sword. But you can use, some people use Accuracy, but I like to have the extra 25 of Bloodlust. The food you're going to take, of course, will be steak. I use the superior stones for my utility. So it's nothing but full DPS.
Josh, I have a question. Are you using Marauder on anything for the weapon?
Marauder for the weapons. That's it.
Okay.
I already had like berserker weapons, and I put it on the trinkets. Is that okay?
That's fine. That's fine. Just want a little bit. Like, how much health are you sitting at right now?
20,000.
You see, you got more than me. I have 18,000.
Yeah.
So 20,000 is a good number. I sometimes, it depends who we playing. I might adjust that, might throw some Marauder in or whatever, and sacrifice. See, right now, my critical hit chance is 92%, which is high. So let me ping the build.
Okay.
This is the build. It is a herald. It does use the invocation and the devastation. I'm not going to go through all the traits, but a few of the traits I do want to point out that are very important is the Assassin's Presence, which I think Assassin's Presence is used with every single Revenant in the game. So Assassin's Presence is very important, as well as the one for Swift Termination. A lot of where the Herald's DPS comes from is Fury, because Fury gains might onto it. So you run the two stances. You run the legendary Dragon stance and you run the legendary Dwarf stance. Whenever you're standing here doing nothing like we are right now, you always want to be in your Dragon stance. You want to have your facet of elements on, and you want to have your facet of darkness on. Darkness is your Fury. Fury, it also shares to the other people. And when you give everybody else Fury,
I'm sorry,
and your sub-squad, you also gain might. So I'm sitting right here gaining might by doing nothing. And I have the facet of elements on, I just choose swiftness. You don't have to turn on facet of strength because you're gaining might as you just giving boons to everybody else. The F2 is not used until you move into Dwarf stance. All of the skills on the hammer are very important and useful. All of them. The number one skill is the most used skill. Yes, your auto attack. As soon as you get 5 stacks of Bloodlust, you can hit a single target for 6,000, 7,000, and I've even seen 9,000 with a single tick. And it pierces. It also goes through enemies in a straight line. It doesn't jump around like the Dragon Hunter bow skill, but it goes straight through enemies, hitting a number of 5 targets. Also, all of the skills, with the exception of the 4th skill, is 1,200 range, which is extremely far. So this is like a beefed up ranger, you could almost say. The number 2 skill is a ground skill. It basically slams on the ground like this. I just hit right there for 3,000. That's why you're moving. The strongest skill is the face smash, which is the 3rd skill. But the only problem with that skill is that you stop where you're standing and you return to that location when you're done. So if I'm running forward and I use that, I'm not running forward anymore. I come back to the previous location. So this is a stationary attack. That attack is where, when we're getting confused with Spitty, that's where it came from. That's the skill he was using. Y'all are going to kill me right here. So whenever we are stacked together and we say range, that's the first attack you want to do for sure. It hits the hardest, and it's an attack that you need to use while not moving. If you use it while we're moving, the Zerg will leave you. Now the reason it's called the back hammer, Revenant, is because you're not on the front line. You don't have a lot of health. You're full berserker, and you're the DPS. You want to be right behind the tag. Move, dog. So if the tag is here, you want to be about right there. Very simple. Not that far, because your range is very far. Skill 4, it's a close range one. So whenever you get close, you can use that range. I don't use it that often, because whenever I get to close combat, I switch to my swords. The 5th one is your blast finisher. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it does knock down foes. So, like when somebody's on the oil, I'll drop that number 5 on them and knock them down off of the oil. That way we can pull them away or CC them or whatever else. It's a really good CC. The facets that I mess with, so whenever we get on a Lord, for instance, or whenever we get close, I'll hit the legendary, the facet of chaos, which is your elite. I'll just turn it on and turn it off, and it'll do like a knockdown. Kind of throws the enemy down like that. So it's good if you're maybe trying to get back to tag and somebody comes across you, and a ganker or whatever, hit that on them and you can knock them on their ass. Over to the swords. Whenever you get to close combat, you're gonna switch to your swords. The number 1 skill you want to hit is that number 4. The number 4 hits multiple targets, hits 3 targets, and also immobilizes. That's where a lot of immobilization comes from. Whenever we engage people and we get immobilized, is from that attack. The number 3 attack, I'll hardly use it unless it's on a boss, because it's going to jump around multiple targets and you don't know where you're going to end up last. The number 2 is just it's like just a finisher, whatever. It does a little bit of damage. It's some good damage. Your auto attack does just as much damage as number 2. Number 5 is a teleport. So you'll teleport to the enemy and do a stab, which it's kind of good if you're trying to get back to the group and as a ganker, and you can zone towards them and hit them with 4 and then go into 3 and whatever. Any questions about the dragon stance?
So when you run, because you correct me the other day, I was running the quickness, fury, and darkness while running normally the Zerg. So you said that I just have to run 2 of them instead, right? Because they will suck my energy too fast.
Okay, so good point. I did miss this. Sorry. So the hardest part about Revenant, and why I think people don't play it, is managing your energy. That is the hardest thing about a Revenant, is managing it. So basically, auto attacking gains your energy. I'm sitting at 100% energy right now, and I have 2 bars to the right, even though I have 2 facets on right now. If I activate my F2, I will start losing energy. But you don't use F2 because F2 doesn't do anything in Dragon Stance that's useful for the group. So 2 facets. If you run a 3rd facet, then it's going to start draining your energy. So that's why I only pick 2. Now, if you don't want to use the swiftness, that's totally up to you. But the reason I run swiftness is because of that AoE that's there. It's a very good damage. So whenever we get to a supervisor, the elite one is just a tap. So you're not going to sit there and drain it. So just running around. So you're going to start with 50% energy. Your first initial attack will gain you energy. Even though it takes energy to use your number 2 skill, just using your number 1 skill is going to gain a lot of energy. A lot. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to one-tap you.
Anyway, he jumped at you.
Those are all just clones.
Yeah. So, running around with the Zerg, you want to be in Dragon Stand. You want to run 2 facets. You want to be sharing that fury, that might, and that swiftness to everybody, because you share boons. Whenever we engage enemies, you swapping over to Dwarf. And this is where you become a very good utility. Instead of all DPS, you're really a utility. Why? Roads.
So you
Roads.
don't pop your 8 and 9 in the mist or anything. Blindness and the vulnerability.
No, I don't use
Okay.
those.
Okay.
So, roads. How good is roads? It's so good, right? That's what you want to. You want to switch to the legendary. I mean that dwarf, and you want to throw roads. What does roads do? Not only it CCs the enemy that we come across, it also does pulsing stability, which is very, very, very important. As we all know, we need stability. See, I'm damaging him for 3k a pop. Also, Vengeful Hammers. But,
Yeah.
but Vengeful Hammers are only used in close combat. So, whenever you engage an enemy, whenever we engage a Zerg, you want to be in roads, you want to be in dwarf, and also F2. You want to turn it on. Turning on F2 is a damage reduction. It's a damage reduction for your sub-squad, as well as the elite spec. The elite is a damage reduction for all of us. Not only that, it's a stun break. So whenever our Holof stun breaks, you hit that, and it only uses a little bit of energy, and it's back again. There is no cooldown. So roads, we're on roads, stun breaks. Ooh, I need energy. Let me hit 2, 3. I got roads again. That's how fast I got my energy back. I'm already at 50% energy, and I still have F2 up. Now, if I start losing energy and I'm in a crisis, I pop my F2, gives it everything back to me, then back to roads, stun breaks, and then continue your DPS. Oops.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Indoor stance is what you want to engage a Zerg with. So we're down with roads. We switch to swords, Vengeful Hammers, 4, 3, 2, whatever you want on the Zerg, and out, everything off, back into your other stance to gain your energy back. Because if you lose all of your energy, all you have to do is swap your stance back, and it will pop you back up in energy.
Okay, I have a question for that.
Mm-hmm.
When we engage a Zerg, normally I do my roads, and after that, right after, I do the Great Dwarf because it diminished the damage since we enter the combat. I use normally my hammer. When I start seeing downs, soft downs enemies, I'm starting my hammer. Is that okay, or I should just go with the hammer first then?
That's fine. I hardly switch to swords because it's a range game right now.
Mhm.
And it's kind of turned ranged. Even whenever we get into a Zerg, we run through them. We don't. If we're gonna camp there, so if we like sitting on top of them, then I'll switch to swords and really wail on them or whatever and try to break them. And the Vengeful Hammers also will break stability. So you want to. I stay in hammer a lot. It's just so good. I know it seems clunky to people, but it hits so damn hard. In the middle of the people, I'll even hit right here, hammer 5, blast on top of us. Still hit the roads. Stun break. That elite is so damn good that you hit it as often as you can. Not only you get your damage reduction for your group, it also stun breaks somebody that's caught in your group. Somebody's caught on the tail, boom, hit you elite. Get them out. Help them. Throw roads down. You could do that whenever we're in trouble, but you want to keep those roads down. If you see other people putting roads, try to rotate them because it'll flood to the other sub-squads. And the Guardians are doing their job as well, as much stability as they can, but they only have so many skills for stability. The roads is what gives the most stability because of the pulsing and how short the timer is. It's unbelievable how often you can cast it. It's only 9 seconds. So, questions?
So for the duration of the fight, you're in combat portion, you're in dwarf the whole time, right?
Correct.
Unless you need to recover energy.
Correct. So the only time I get out of dragon after we start engaging. So say that's the group over there that we're approaching. I'll throw down my couple attacks, and then I'm swapping, and then I'm on them doing my damage reductions and all my single attacks and stuff like that. Whatever we need to do to keep the group alive.
Okay.
Stop! I didn't. Why are you hitting me?
Somebody roaded me.
I can bleed you. I can bleed.
You got roaded.
Was you Randy roaded?
Roaded.
See that? You see that? What they did right there? Reflex. Be careful with the auto attack. It will kill you.
Because it's a projectile.
Yeah, it's a projectile, correct?
My bad, shouldn't I have done that?
Hey, Kasha.
No, it's good to know.
Yep.
Hey, gosh.
It will kill you, and it will kill your group. It will go right through us.
Oh shit! Because it's Pierce. Oh shit!
Yep.
That's correct. Everybody's trying to heal up. All right. That's about all I have. So
Someone asked if you're consuming your swiftness and fury before you switch to dwarf.
I am not, because I would consume the swiftness if I could, because it does a good bit of damage, but it's only 240 range,
Yeah, it doesn't go very.
and I'm in dwarf whenever we get that close.
Are you going over the threat or not?
Am I going over what?
The builds, the ABC, the threat.
He already went over the build.
Okay.
Already did.
The invocation, devastation, and stuff.
I pinged the build.
You already did.
Okay. No, it's because well, I have a question then regarding the herald one. What's the advantage of using Draconic Echo over Forceful Persistence in the herald line, the last column?
Oh, because whenever you switch to dwarf, your the facet for dragon is going to stick around for a little while, giving you more DPS right when you switch.
Okay.
Because a lot.
So your fury and your might.
That's correct. All your boons come with you. Well, what's generating all of our boons right now is just sitting here in dragon stance. So when you switch over, you don't lose your boons, but the facet that's producing all of that is carried along with it. And the first trait in Herald improves that. See? Increase the duration. So that duration and everything carries over
Okay.
for a short while. So if you switch stances right now, you see one's blinking.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not in combat. Sorry. You have to be in combat for it to show. But you'll see there'll be one blinking. It's going to sit there for an additional 5 seconds, which 5 seconds in a Zerg fight is what? A lifetime.
Now I'm in combat, so let's see switch.
Yep, switch.
I don't see that. Hold on. Cannot switch.
Yep,
back.
it should blink.
Hold up. I am in Fury and Thingy. Now I will switch.
Do you see it blinking? Do you see the dwarf blinking when you go back? It should start blinking at the bottom of your bar.
Oh, yeah.
You see it?
Yeah.
Yep, that's your trait kicking in.
Okay. That's not what I I was looking on the screen if I would see the symbol.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, I see it over my bar.
All right. Y'all want to go kill him up there? Let's do it. Come on. Let's go. They're ready for us. Come on. We're all dead.
Well,
I mean,
Arthur
they're
is,
glass cannon, so that's what's supposed to happen.
yeah, Arthur is doing the blender.
Oh shit. Any questions though? That's about it for me. That's how I play the Revenant.
Okay.
Your
That's why
bloodlust rune or bloodlust sigil is on your swords, right?
I was using them on my swords, but I was forgetting to switch over to my swords to get my bloodlust stack. So I actually just put it on my hammer. So I have force and bloodlust on my hammer.
So I think 90% of my damage came from outer and noob.
That's surprise.
So yeah, Rogue, you can if you can manage it as good as me. Sometimes I just forget. I'm like, damn it, I forgot.
Well, that way you get the addition of 1 extra sigil, basically.
Yes,
on
that's
your hammer.
correct. That's correct. And if I would go with anything, I would go with accuracy.
Yeah, that's what I've got is force and accuracy.
Yes, I would go with accuracy.
Can I make one quick point really quick that we sort of glanced over? I don't know if you talked about it at all. Your herald stance, glint stance heal does not do anything for you unless you take damage.